The town clerk reports that there are 97 town meeting members present, representing a quorum. The special meeting for the town of Adams is convened. The clerk will read the return of the constable.
Adams, Massachusetts, October 27th, 2022. I have served the foregoing warrant by posting in 3 public places in said town of Adams, true and attested copies thereof, 14 days at least before time of holding said meeting. Thomas A. Sacco, Constable of the town of Adams.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. Up front this evening, to my right, Town Administrator Jay Green, the Town Accountant Crystal Wojcik, Chairman of the Board of Selectmen John Duval, Vice Chairman of the Board of Selectmen Christine Hoyt, members Howard Rosenberg and Joseph Novak. On my left, Town Clerk Haley Mezawar, Chairman of the Finance Committee Carol Cuscinetti, and Town Council Edmund St. John. And our sound this evening is being provided by Tyler Bazillion. And a little applause for Tyler. Okay, appointing of tellers this evening, we will have a standing vote count for Article 1. And the tellers tonight will be David Lennon from Precinct 5 and Rachel Tomkowitz from Precinct 3. We are going to take up each Article 1 at a time this evening. Article 1. To see if the town will vote to appropriate $2,377,120 to complete capital improvements to the Adams Wastewater Treatment Plant, including all costs incidental and related thereto, and to authorize the treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, to borrow said sum under General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 7.1, or Section 8.14, and or General Laws, Chapter 29C, or any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes therefore, and to contract for and expend any federal or state aid available for the project, or to take any other action relative thereto. Does anyone have any questions with respect to this article? Mr. Cowie. And right up here, Mr. Cowie's a microphone. And Mr. Cowie, there's a switch right there on the microphone.
Hello. Okay. John Cowie, Precinct 3. Basically, I would just like to know how we got from 5 million to 7. Did we use the same engineering firm that did the first bid? Were they way off? Is this all inflation? Were there add-ons? Were there statutory mandates? When you went to the we don't have any documents showing, what's the difference. And were any documents given the Finance Committee? Because I know they recommended it, but I don't see anything here. I'd just like to have, I know inflation is big, obviously. We all know that. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Green.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Jack, for that question. I'm going to just run through some numbers here. Our estimated budget in spring of 2021, which was performed by Ty and Bond, which is our engineers. They did the upgrade in 2005 as well. That estimate was $5,049,500. That is what we had proposed in town meeting in that year, which was approved. At the time, the language in that warrant article should have said a sum not to exceed, say, $10 million. Instead, it was a sum, which is an open-ended amount. So if that article had been written appropriately, we wouldn't be here tonight because we would have had a cap on it. So that's one thing to keep in mind. A year later, in spring of 2022, to answer, Jack, your question specifically, came back with one bid on the same scope. So the scope that the work estimate was $5,049,000 came back a year later, $6,504,400. So that's $6.5 million. So the estimate was a little over $5 million. Then a year later, in the bidding process, same scope, with inflation, it went up to $6.5 million. That's approximately $1.4 million over estimate. The state requires that you add a 5% contingency, so that's $325,000. When you add in the construction service fee, so the project was designed, we have a project on the books, we know what work we're going to be done, you have to have the engineering team, now that you've paid them to design it, now you have to have them to manage the contractor to be sure that the contractor is doing what we've agreed to have done to the plant. That is approximately 10% of a total project cost, give or take. That's, for this project, $597,000. So when you take the construction service cost of $597,000 and you take the one bid that we got a year after it was estimated at $1.7 million, excuse me, $1.4 million, that comes up to that $2.3 million that you have in front of you tonight. Grand total borrowing, $7.4 million. Jack, did I hit it all for you? Go ahead. Physical capacity of the plant? The plant was built to handle about 10 to 12 million gallons a day flow. That was when we had paper production here in town. We average anywhere about 2 to 2.5 million gallons a day. The plant capacity right now has been reduced total by 50%. If we lose any components, the plant is out of service and we're direct discharge in the river in violation of EPA. What this will actually do is, if you've ever looked at the plant, particularly an overhead picture, we have 2 clarifiers and we have 2 aeration basins. Those are your primary purification aspects of it. Aeration basins 1 through 3 are out of service. Clarifier number 2 is out of service. If we lose anything on 4, 5, and 6, or clarifier number 1, we can't process. So the idea isn't to restore the plant so it can handle 12 million. In theory, it could probably handle it if we put it all online. But we're going to go to what's called the duplex method of operation. Clarifier 1 will operate for a period of time. It will come offline. Number 2 will go into service. Number 1 can have preventative maintenance. Same thing with the aeration basins. In fact, aeration basins 1, 2, and 3 haven't been used in years, and they have the original direct drive motors on them, not variable frequency, which means when they test them once a month to bump them to make sure that they could potentially be used, we get a surcharge on our electricity. So these upgrades are structural, they're electrical, they're handling things that weren't done in the 2005 upgrade. They're doing some things that what needed to be done in 2005 now are being done. So the plant will always be able to handle 12 million gallons a day. Whether we see it, I don't think so. But this creates redundancy and allows for much better preventative maintenance, as we've talked about with the Finance Committee, where we have an asset management plan, and we're not always overreacting to things. Things break, now we have to react, we have to go buy them. In this situation, we'll be able to get into the equipment, work on the equipment better, and do things ahead of time without risking direct discharge into the river. Anything else, Jack, while you got me? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Are there any other questions with respect to this article? Mrs. Doyle? Okay, we'll make sure people speak up. I'll speak up. Any other questions? Mr. Novak? Yes? Okay.
Good evening, everybody. I have a bipartisan question, and it goes as this, and I'll probably have to have an answer from our town administrator or anyone else here. A few years ago, in a bipartisan vote, H.R. 3684, the Infrastructure and Jobs Act, was created. And within the framework of that is money put aside for wastewater treatment plants. So far, $9 billion has been appropriated throughout the country. And the reason I bring that up is because it seems apparent that the House is going to be taken over by the Republican Party. They're just 2 seats away from it. And that's going to stall a lot of things within Congress. And because this H.R. 3684 was bipartisan, it will be something that the Democrats will be able to use and bring it along in an orderly fashion. And my question is, if we go through with this bond, does that preclude us from asking for grant money toward bringing down our bill? And that's my question. Yeah.
Wastewater and drinking water are very difficult projects to fund for us in the town of Adams, I would think for any municipality. To answer Joe's question, I don't know the answer to that. We'd like to think yes, but I think I can also answer the question by just explaining a little bit why this funding process is competitive for the town of Adams. This is really the only state funding source for municipal water and wastewater projects. It's highly competitive. We had said that at town meeting 2 years ago when we got your permission to go out and actually start discussing borrowing and move forward with the project that you wanted us to do. Only about 50 to 70% of these projects are approved or funded. We got funded. The interest rate is at 2%. And to get into what Joe was mentioning, there was a lot of state ARPA funds that were, the town of Adams has $2.3 million in ARPA funds that we can use for a variety of different purposes. And it was Mr. Corrigan and I had a conversation last week or the week before about ARPA funds. I can tell you that the town of Adams, in an article filed by Brian Rhodes, Brian, where are you? Thank you. Back in March of 22, he reported that we are receiving $378,000, give or take, in ARPA loan forgiveness and $499,000 in disadvantaged community loan forgiveness towards this entire project in a grand amount of $878,614. Excuse me. So it's been a long day. So that's why I say that $7.4 million is the total project cost. That's what the contractor gets. Part of that goes to Ty and Bond, the engineering firm. Our debt service will not be based on $7.4 million. It's going to be less, $878,000. I'm not offering a specific number because I honestly don't know what that number is going to be. Crystal and I are keeping our fingers crossed. Take $878,000 off of $7.4 million. We're around 6.4, give or take. So that's what the debt service will be. If Congress acts, we'll certainly look at it. But I would suggest probably not, simply because we've already gone through the Clean Water Trust process. That's why we're here tonight. Our bond counsel, as Kelly Rice will tell you, is very particular. And Michael asked for us to have this meeting tonight to correct the mistake in that town meeting warrant article where we only asked for a sum. So if more money becomes available, we'll certainly look at it, but I would not anticipate it at this time. I think we're getting the best deal that we possibly can to address the plant needs.
Any other questions on the article? Seeing none, Mr. Lennon is going to make the motion. Do you want to do it right there, please?
Okay, I make a motion that the town appropriate $2,377,120 to complete capital improvements to the Adams wastewater treatment plant, including all costs incidental and related thereto. That to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, is authorized to borrow $2,377,120 under General Law, Chapter 44, Section 7, Paragraph 1, or Section 8, Paragraph 14, and or General Law, Chapter 29C, or any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes, therefore, that the treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, is authorized to contract for and expend any federal or state aid available for the project, and that the Board of Selectmen and treasurer are authorized to take any other action necessary to carry out this project.
Thank you. Seconded by Mr. Burdick. The motion on the floor and seconded that the town appropriate the $2,377,120 to complete capital improvements to the Adams wastewater treatment plant, etc. All those in favor of the motion, please stand, and the tellers, please remain standing until the tellers report their count to the town clerk. Thank you. You may be seated. And those who are not in favor of the motion, please stand. The tellers will count and report to the clerk. Thank you. You may be seated. The vote is 95 in favor, 4 opposed. The motion carries. Article 2, to see if the town will vote to transfer the fiscal year 2016 capital appropriation of $15,000 for a master plan for cemetery parks and grounds to capital equipment for cemetery parks and grounds, or to take any other action in relation thereto. The Finance Committee does recommend this article. Any questions? Seeing none, Ms. Cuscianetti moves the article as written, seconded by Mr. Burdick. All in favor? Opposed? Article 3, to see if the town will vote to release to free cash the following unused capital appropriations. Fiscal year 2019 capital appropriation balance of $9,583.04, originally for the water meter replacement, with the project now completed. Fiscal year 2020 capital appropriation balance of $8,696.74, originally for the new equipment and software in the assessor's office, with the project now completed, or to take any other action in relation thereto. The Finance Committee does recommend this. Any questions? Seeing none, Ms. Cuscianetti moves Article 3, seconded by Mr. Burdick again. All in favor? Opposed? So moved. Article 4, to see if the town of Adams will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to accept an easement to a parcel of land from the estate of Charles R. Ransford at no cost to the town to install and maintain drainage lines from Lower Linden Street to Commercial Street in accordance with a plan drawn and stamped by Hill Engineering Architects Planners under terms and conditions that the Board of Selectmen deems in the best interest of the town, or to take any other action in relation thereto. The Finance Committee does recommend the article. Any questions? Seeing none, Ms. Cuscianetti moves the recommendation of the Finance Committee for Article 4, seconded by Mr. Lennon. All in favor? Opposed? Is there any further business to come before the special town meeting? Seeing none, Mr. Shepley. I was on a roll. Go ahead.
Bruce Shepley, Precinct 3. It's not a matter of business, it's a comment. I would like to address this comment toward the town administrator, the select board, and all the departments in the town. My wife and I have been residents for 38 years. At these meetings and at select board meetings, we hear pretty consistently about, over the years, about the deplorable conditions about the town, about how nothing's getting done, about the entryway, the eyesores as we enter the town. And now we have a new Holland Ave, we have a new Columbia Street, Commercial Street. We have the eyesore that was a mainstay coming in from the south gone. And I personally have a feeling of hope that we are on the right track, that we're seeing progress, and it's the little things we don't think about. I've noticed that we have 5 vehicles now in town that are white. 2 of them are for facilities. One is the dog officers, one is the water treatment plant. I don't remember what the other is. But it's these little things that bring pride to the town and make us hold our heads up a little higher. It's not the recycled police cruiser or a cobbed truck that's from the DPW that has been maintained for 25 years and pieced together to serve some other need. So I would just like, on behalf of myself, to say thank you very much. It's encouraging. We're seeing an influx of good things happening here in Adams.
Hear, hear. Is there any other business to come before the town meeting? Seeing none, Mr. Duval moves that the special town meeting for Adams be dissolved, seconded by Ms. Tomkowitz. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you all. Good night.